He is back on the show from The Athletic. Anthony Slater covers the Lakers and the Warriors, and we talked a lot of Warriors. What's up, Anthony? Good morning. We talked a lot of Warriors, and rightfully so, last time you were on, and nothing's really changed. We love a vibe check. How's it going with Golden State? What does it feel like right now over there?
Very good, but that's what Moses Moody made the point last night, because it seemed like people were like, hey, this group is so different now. Why is everybody in such a great mood? It's just like, that's winning in sports. They've won 10 straight games that Jimmy Butler's played in. So pretty much every locker room with Jimmy Butler I've been in postgame is a winning locker room, which is always a different, happier, joking locker room. So it does seem like a happier team right now than it was prior to the trade. But that's generally just because they're a winning team right now, 12-2 in their last 14. And really one of the best teams in the league over the last month.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because Steve Kerr said they're getting an identity, which we love that word in sports. Second best in offense, second best in defense since Jimmy Butler got there. What is the identity?
Yeah, it's tougher. They have a second scorer now in Jimmy Butler. It's more versatile offensively. Jimmy Butler's getting a lot of free throws. This was one of the worst teams in the league getting to the line prior to him. I think they were fourth fewest in the league in attempts. And at one point, like during the Jimmy Butler tenure, they were first. I'm not sure they're still up there, but he is getting there. I think he's had games of 11, 12, 14, 8, and that's just so different for them. I mean, him and Steph have talked about how their opposite games are meshing. But yeah, I mean, like, I asked Steve Kerr specifically what is the identity, and you mentioned it. He's just had a two-way team that, and to him, a guy who's obviously won 9 titles and 4 as a coach, like that means you have an elite offense and an elite defense. And you mentioned the stats. Typically NBA champions are top 10 offense, top 10 defense, and they've been top 5 in both with Butler. But I will say, and you may be getting here, it's been a very soft portion of the schedule.
Okay.
So like they haven't really been challenged.
I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, that is fair. But still, it's kind of crazy that Jimmy Butler get there. It's been a very seamless move. It's also only been just over a month. Feels longer than that. Has anything surprised you about this transition?
Yeah, I would say, we probably talked too much about like the issues in Miami and like acted like that they would just, like whatever issues he had in Miami would just kind of go with him to the next team. It's like, no, he's not upset with the next team. The next team, the Warriors, decided to pay him. And they have a different, organizational culture, and they just don't have shared history that clearly Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley had. So not only has he been in a really good mood and a motivated mood and, trying to play every game, he's only missed one game. But he slots the rest of their team into and maybe this is what I didn't calculate coming in. He just slots the rest of their team into like their rightful places. Moses Moody suddenly can just play off him as just a catch and shoot, kind of 3-and-D guy. Pajemski, he hasn't played the last 2 games, but he's found a nice, kind of, 2-man game with Butler in those second unit lineups. And the non-Steph minutes, this has been a big story, when he's been there. Historically, they get crushed when Steph Curry's off the floor. He gets on the bench and, you can feel the arena basically counting down the moments until he goes to the scores table again. That hasn't really been the case. Jimmy Butler in that unit has been winning a lot of those minutes. So he just helps them, in so many ways. And the other thing he does is he just seems to mold his game on any particular night to what they need. If they need an individual defender, he'll turn that nozzle up. If they need to get to the line, he'll do that. If he needs to hit some isolation jumpers, he'll do that. So he's just kind of doing everything for them.
Yeah, and Anthony, you talk about when Steph is off the floor and Jimmy is there and the fans, they're not so much worried about it. But what they've been able to do collectively, it looks like Steph has found like a fountain of youth, and he's found a different level. What has Jimmy done to impact him on the offensive end, and what has he unlocked for Steph?
I think number one, the biggest thing beyond just like the strategic nature of it is like he's unlocked a belief team wide that like they're actually in contention. I think Steph was getting a little beaten down by the idea that like they just knew at various points on nights like they just didn't have the talent level, and that generally meant to them they didn't have a chance to win a championship. And just Jimmy Butler has given Steph Curry a reason to believe that he can get in a playoff series and have a puncher's chance. And once Steph has that, you could just see his basketball spirit kind of lift. And then as far as the strategy nature of it, Jimmy Butler is just dragging defensive attention away from Steph Curry a little bit and putting pressure on the rim and just causing tougher issues for defenses to figure out. And Steph Curry just put it, he said it just makes every possession feel a little bit easier, including, by the way, and I mentioned it isn't just the arena counting down the minutes. Steph Curry used to be like antsy over there on the bench, like looking at Steve Kerr like, hey, can I come in? Now he's sitting over there, towel on his head, laughing, celebrating Jimmy Butler and ones while he's on the bench. It's just, he feels, just more at ease, number one. And two, no more knee tendonitis. I guess tendonitis is something that stays with you, but they're not talking about it. They're letting him play in back-to-backs. Earlier in the year, they were really managing that, and that seems to be gone at this moment.
That's so interesting. You talk about their home crowd, but we had this conversation on the show maybe a week or two ago that we couldn't think of another guy that gets the love that Steph Curry gets. Like, we can't find anybody that hates Steph Curry, that dislikes Steph Curry. What have you seen on the road in the road games that you've experienced to further along that idea that nobody hates Steph Curry? Like, has there been moments that stand out to you on the road as far as Steph Curry and away crowds go?
Yeah, you got 2 MVP chants on the last road trip, one in Orlando, one in Brooklyn. This has been a decade-long thing, really, since he exploded as like the unanimous MVP. What I've noticed over that time is it's generally little kids. It's like 8-year-old to like 14-year-olds. They come in their full Under Armour gear, Steph Curry, jerseys, Steph Curry shorts, Steph Curry shoes, signs, and it's clearly like every little kid, especially in the East cities that get to see the Warriors once a year. It's like Orlando, for example. They're always just, the entire arena is loaded with 8 to 14-year-olds who are clearly from Jacksonville and Tallahassee and various areas around Orlando that at Christmas that year go like, Mom, I want one thing this year. Get me tickets to the Warriors game. They come and it's just like this screaming celebration for the one tour date a year they get to see Steph Curry. And then when he gets going, and on this last road trip, he averaged like 35 a game. It was hitting like 7 threes a game. Had a 56-point game, had a 40-point game. It's just, it builds and builds. And in Orlando, by the time he hit 3 threes in crunch time to seal it, and he was doing the night. Like, it felt like a playoff game in a home arena. The entire crowd was standing and like exploding in unison for the road player to like take down the home team. It was kind of odd, but I'm kind of used to it.
Wait, but awesome. I take that back. We did find one guy that might dislike Steph Curry. No. Isaiah Stewart. Well, what went down with these two guys Saturday night? That was kind of funny.
I mean, Steph, especially with the way he's feeling it right now, he's over there. I mean, he does those little taunts and stuff, and it kind of takes off opponents. And I'm sure Stewart's sitting there thinking, hey, like, let's get this going. Let's get that was a really like chirpy game in general. Dennis Schroeder was heavily involved, as you can see right there in the video, partly because the Warriors like kind of unceremoniously traded for Dennis Schroeder at a time he didn't necessarily want to be traded, and then traded him again about a month later for Jimmy Butler. So it was just like at the end of a chirpy game, and Isaiah Stewart is a kind of an enforcer type guy, and he did a little shove, and I think he found out, and the Pistons found out, like, Steph Curry has a little bit of edge, a lot of edge to him, probably more than the reputation was suggesting. He has some enforcers behind him, and it became a fun little moment in the arena.
Isaiah Stewart hates Santa Claus. He doesn't count. You can't count him.
I love Isaiah Stewart.